What's up YouTube? So today I want to have a look at Arturia's FX Collection. So if you haven't been following Arturia for the last little bit, they've been releasing these packs of compressors, preamps and filters which are kind of inspired by classic pieces of analog gear. So they've just released a collection which is basically a culmination of all of those packs with a couple of added extras. And it's those added extras which actually got me particularly excited because I've been waiting for a reverb with this kind of versatility, and I've been waiting for a delay with this kind of versatility. So I'm going to kind of focus on the delay and the reverb that they've added in this FX collection. But that being said, I'm going to show you guys the filters and a couple of other things which I think are really cool about this pack in particular. So, of course, I'm not too into the recording side of things. So the preamps and the compressors I might not look into in this video, but if you are interested in me going through those, just shoot me a comment on the video and I will be sure to make a video on that. Anyway, let's dive in and I'll show you why I think these new introductions are so superb. So what I want to do here is I just want to create a very simple sound, and then from there we're going to go into recreating all sorts of sound effects and stuff like that based on the effects. Not really going too far into the synthesis side of things. In this project I already have a phase plant open, so I mean what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to open up a analog. I kind of like the square wave tone when creating plucks. I find it's got a little bit of more kind of interesting harmonics going on that tend to create a nicer kind of bed when using reverbs and that kind of thing. But anything, whatever floats your boat, you can use wavetables, samples, even white noise can work in this type of example. So what we're doing is we're creating just a very, very simple pluck like this. And then what we can do is we can just create a couple of notes here. So I'm actually just going to mute the synths, and so I can play like kick and bass as well as the synth that we're going to create over here. So I believe this track is in G sharp, so it kind of sounds like a metronome, but we're gonna take things a little bit further. So first thing I want to do is I actually just want to remove the low end using this pre-EQ, just so we're not sending any subs through to the reverbs. So this new reverb that they've added that's got me particularly excited is the rev intensity. Reason being is it's got a couple of features in here that you don't often see in reverbs, and those are hidden in this advanced tab, and you just use these double drop down arrows to get to that. And this is a function generator. I guess this is kind of more like a LFO, a custom LFO kind of thing, where you can draw in shapes and you can use that to modulate different parameters within a reverb. So this is cool because reverb is not necessarily the thing that you often see modulation stuff attached to, because it's more of a kind of mixing tool, or traditionally it's kind of used more as a mixing tool. But the really cool thing about this is they've kind of extended that use of reverb into the kind of more sound design territory. Here we also have an envelope follower. So what this does is it kind of uses the input, or it's actually got various sources. You can use a external input as well as the input from the reverb to adjust various parameters, and you've got an attack and release on that. So I'm going to kind of dive into this, but we're going to kind of try outline the more experimental use of reverb here in a sound design aspect, as opposed to using it to make stuff sound like it's in a certain environment. So you'll notice, I mean, already the default patch has some stuff going on here with the function generator. It's modulating the pre-delay and the size, so it creates that slight instability. So one cool thing already that we can do is we can use these modulation parameters to create a kind of gated reverb effect, so to speak. So here what we can do is we can set this to modulate the dry wet, and then we can apply various attack and release parameters on that. So this is a cool way of creating like an artificially big sound that doesn't take up too much space in a mix. So for example, we could like boost the decay, distance, and size to create a sound that sounds big, but using this envelope follower, we've kind of ducked the tail of the sound. So you can also use it for more experimental stuff, like using it to, for example, modulate like the size, and then you create these kind of weird sounds. So let's just try attach this to a couple of parameters here. Like let's, for example, do the decay over here. Let's not do the size because that's a bit of a crazy thing that happens there. But for example, the feedback, this is quite nice. So what this does is it feeds the output back into the input. So this can get dangerous, specifically if you've got like high decays and sizes. So what we can do here is we can use the envelope follower to just pump the feedback as the kind of pluck hits. So it never gets to the point where it's going to kind of delay on forever, but it still creates this kind of weird tonal characteristic in the sound. So here we can set like this function generator. We can actually sync this as well and put in the step sequencer and then use this to kind of change the values. You can create some ramps here, which is pretty cool. So of course that's just a very monotonous like single tone kind of thing, but you can imagine like with a melody in there or all sorts of other elements, you know, it can get very, very experimental. So actually what I want to do is I just want to initialize this new preset so I can show you guys a couple of other really cool things that are built in here. And that is the freeze function. So this allows you to create kind of pad out of almost any kind of sound. You just run it through and then automate that freeze onwards. So let's just create read write and then you kind of want to get it just after the beginning of the sound so it captures the audio and then carries on. So then from here, a pretty cool thing is to, for example, like add a filter. And I want to show you guys this filter M12, which is really cool. I believe this is a recreation of a filter from an Oberheim Matrix 12 synthesizer, which has a really cool mod oscillator. And what you can do with this is basically modulate the cutoff in a kind of audio rate style. It's not tuned or anything, but it can give you some pretty cool results. It's also got a random generator built in. You can sync this to like 1/16, and we can do our classic kind of, for example, bandpass, high resonance. Or we could send like the mod OSC through to like filter cutoff B. Okay, I just want to turn filter A off. You can actually switch between them, use them in serial or parallel, which is pretty cool. So just to hear what this filter B is doing, I'm just going to set it so that only filter B is playing. And then let's turn this mod OSC up. That's pretty cool. It's like kind of takes things from like a LFO filtery type of thing into like a bit crashy kind of range. So this is a cool technique to kind of create a build-up out of almost anything. You kind of slowly bring in the reverb and then you freeze it and then mod OSC and then turn that up until it goes into kind of like bit crashy territory and then bring in the kick and bass and stuff. Let me see if I can kind of recreate something like that. I actually want to put it so that like it's doing this filter, then we can put a delay on and another reverb. So check this out. Let's put on delay eternity and then another rev intensity. Cool. So I quickly want to chat about why Delay Eternity is so cool. You've got several different modes, basically two different delay effects in one. You've got several different ways of using it. Dual serial is basically running a delay here and a delay here. And the cool thing about this is each one is still a separate kind of stereo delay. So you can kind of have the one on the same like sort of left-right and the other on a kind of different left-right, and they both run through effects and all sorts of stuff like that. So here again you've got like advanced controls, you've got an envelope follower, you've got an LFO. So this is pretty cool to set, for example, like sync. Let's set this to like a 1/8 and then set this to modulate like the filter frequency of the like feedback of the delay ever so slightly, and then boost the resonance a bit. And it kind of changes the way that these delays like feedback out and stuff, and you get these kind of varying patterns, and it's particularly cool for these kind of more randomized atmospheric type of sounds. And you can choose here whether it goes through to... You can choose here whether it goes through to the effect or not. So you can choose which delay one is being processed. You've got a bit crusher as well, which is pretty cool. So let's bit crush the first one and then delay the second one. That is super cool. So obviously there's various other stuff in the pack, like I said, compressors, preamps, and other reverbs and stuff, but I'm not going to kind of dive too in depth with those ones. I kind of wanted to stick with the kind of theme of my channel, obviously, and what you guys want to see. And I'm sure there'll be various other reviews and stuff online where you guys can see them. But like I said, if you do want my take on these, I can dive into them in a future video, so let me know in the comments. A big thanks to IDM Mag, proud supporters of the dance music scene and my channel. A quick disclaimer, Arturia did send me these plugins for this video, but there was no obligation attached. I didn't have to make the video if I wasn't happy with the plugins. But like I said, this reverb really pushes the boundaries of what traditional reverbs are used for, and I think that's really, really special and kind of something I've been looking for a little while. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you want me to check out the other stuff, again, let me know in the comments. And a big thanks to Arturia for sending me these plugins for the video. So yeah, see you guys next time.